Given your recent on-field history, would you go to the AFL at the end of this year and say, we're going to need some assistance here in terms of draft pick compensation? Would you do that?
We haven't got to that point yet, but you alluded to our last 3 years. We won 10 games. We won 1 this year.
Yeah.
If we get to that point, then that's a decision we'll have to make.
But it's not a pride thing that you would say, we would never go and ask for help.
It's probably a discussion internally around that. But we're also mindful of the position we're in and what that might look like and what that compensation might be. And as I said, we'll make those decisions in the last half of the year and go from there.
It's a lever that would improve your list. So there's almost not an obligation, but you seriously have to consider it, because otherwise you're not doing yourself a service there.
I think the other thing we're looking at is that fortunately this year we've got 2 first round, 2 second round picks. But the reality is the draft is as compromised as it's ever been because of NGAs, Northern Academies, father-sons, and then the priority compensation picks for free agents. We saw that 2 years ago with the Harley Reid draft. We had Harley Reid at 1, we should have had pick 19, and that pick became pick 30. And so all of a sudden the talent pool is being spread across for a whole range of different levers. So we've got to take the whole thing into consideration.
Oscar Allen, where does the situation sit with him for next year? Have you got an offer on the table for him that's competitive, do you think?
Well, we're in communication with his manager around the offers / where he's sitting. He's an unrestricted free agent, so he's entitled to. That's the nature of the game. I know people don't like hearing that, but the reality is, if you're in Oscar Allen's shoes and you've got a long-term deal on big money somewhere else, and potentially means you don't stay at West Coast, well, that might be the scenario. I'm not saying it is, but we're communicating with him and his manager around, okay, what is it that looks like for Oscar to stay? As I've said all along, he's a co-captain of the footy club, he's a wanted player, we'd love to have Oscar at the club, and we'll work towards trying to get that outcome. But again, a bit like the Harley situation, I don't know what the future's going to hold.
If he did decide to leave, you would be entitled to a very high compensation pick based on how that mystery formula works. It's fair to say it would be a pick in the first round at the very least. Would you be torn in going, right, we want to keep this guy because he's a captain of our club, he's a really good young player, he's a great leader, but we need those picks. So it's a tough scenario.
Well, it is, but we'll look at it. I look at it, maybe that's me, I just look at it through first things first. Where do we sit with Oscar? And
do you want him to be here next year?
Yeah, we want him to be here. And we've articulated to Oscar that many times. We're not sitting here going, oh, we want that compensation pick. No, we want Oscar Allen, and we want him back, and we want him playing good footy, and we want to then reward him for doing that. So it's that's the trade-off at the moment. But as a free agent, you've got options as well, which we respect.
There would be a scenario though where if you spoke to his people and said, look, what's the best offer he's got? And you got pretty close to that. I would imagine Oscar being captain, West Coast fan all his life, he would probably sign that the next day. So clearly there's a gap with the offers.
It's generally how it works. If someone hasn't signed who wants to stay, there's a gap. So, and that's what we're working on at the moment.
Speaking of free agency and this, Chad Warner, you were in the race, you were right in there, you did everything you could, but he decided to stay.
Which was always a potential outcome. I mean, again, nothing against Chad, like he's got a decision to make. And I know, having worked with Chad, and I know his relationship with Coxie and so forth, so he made a decision. His brother had re-signed. He felt like, I'll stay on for another couple of years. So it probably pushes that can down the road for a couple of years, but we'll certainly stay in touch with Chad. Probably have another game of golf or two with Chad.
Maybe let him win next time.
It's not about that, Ryan. It wasn't about that.
Who did win?
Oh, geez, I can't remember.
It'd be you.
Well, I think my wife played with us as well. I think she might have won. She might have got the chocolates, but anyway. And we'll just stay in touch with Chad, and he'll make his decision. And that's the thing. Everyone sort of jumps around. Well, will he? Won't he? And he obviously seriously considered it, which is great. He wasn't ready to come back now. If he's ready in 2 years and he wants to come back, we'll push our case forward, as we should.